everybody, welcome to yet another video. So today we're having a look at the Anest Iwata Kiwami4, the WBX version, and we're putting that up against the Anest Iwata Series2 WS400 clear coat gun. Now, for those that are new to the channel, I've got a couple of wings that I use for comparison. So what we're doing today is everything is exactly the same. It's done on the same day, not exactly the same time, obviously, but one after the other. So the temperature's about the same. The painter's frame of mind is about the same. Everything is the same as we can get it, apart from the gun. So it's just designed to highlight any differences. And also, in my mind as well, when you use these guns back to back, any differences or relevancies tend to be noticeable. Whereas if you're using using one of these guns on a Monday, then you use something else on a Tuesday, and you pick the other one up on the Wednesday, you get a different perspective of things. So I find it much better to hot swap them. Use one and literally go straight to the other, doing exactly the same thing, same material, same clear coat. So mentioning the clear coat, we're using a Mix2 clear coat here, which is I normally use for a lot of jobs. I use U-Pole clear coat, which is a cheap clear coat. The Mix2 is still regarded as a cheap clear coat, but it's not as cheap as the U-Pole. Some people seem to get on with it, some people don't. I have done a comparison videos of a few clear coats, so I'll put a link in the description if you want to know a little bit more about how the clear coat performs compared to the others. But what you do with the MM2 and quite a lot of the more modern clear coats is you will use them, you will do sort of like effectively a half coat, a tack coat, whatever you want to call it, a not so heavy first coat, and then your final finishing coat. So that's what we'll do in this video, because it's how you're supposed to use it and it's how it actually works best. So if you want to see how these guns perform speed-wise against each other, look at the second application, because that's the final application that you're aiming for, your finish application. It's what you're aiming for, the finish. So everything you'll see in the video is off the gun. Nothing's been touched, nothing's been polished or anything. I got them outside between showers. So you might see a couple of little spots on one or two of the panels, and it's simply because it's still trying to rain. But you'll get the idea anyway that what I'm trying to do is show you whether there's any difference between these two guns. So obviously that's going to be the question people will ask. What's the big difference between these guns, how they perform? And the answer is very little, if any. I know a lot of people, just a quick background, the WS400, the Series 1 and the Series 2 has a split tip, and it has 4 splits on that tip. Now the WBX also has a split tip, but it only has 3 splits on that tip. Now, I know some people, particularly in the US, use an LPH400, which also has a 4 split tip, but they put like a WBX or a WB tip in it, which has a 3 split tip. Needles interchange, they fit the gun okay, and that 3 split tip tends to speed it up slightly, because what the splits do, in my opinion anyway, is they atomize the paint finer, but they do slow the gun down. And when you get to like a 4 split tip over a single split tip, they slow the gun down quite considerably. You'll see me using a microwave to heat the clear coat in this video. It is what I do. I use it depends on the power of the video and depends on the power of your microwave and the ambient temperature, but I normally use between 8 and 10 seconds per 100 milliliters. I do not recommend you do it. I'm sure it's not the done thing. It probably is dangerous. I haven't found it dangerous, but I would not recommend you do it. So please don't do it. You know, it's just what I do. But a lot of people have asked me to leave all this stuff in the videos. It makes the videos longer, so I do get a chance to, you know, talk about the stuff a bit longer, which helps me get more information across. And it, you know, it also means that people see what I do, which is what a lot of people have asked to do. So if these bits are boring, you can obviously just skip through them. So we're going to start off with the WBX. As I say, this is a free split tip. If you look at the final coat, I have looked at them and timed them, and there's very little difference in time. There's also, in my opinion, very little difference in finish. So, if any difference in finish, to be honest, it's really difficult to notice it, if there is any. I couldn't see any. You know, maybe if you got a magnifying glass and went over, maybe you could see slightly more peel on the WBX, but I don't think so, to be fair. The biggest difference between these two is the price of the gun. The W400 W400 Series 2 is at least twice the price of the WBX. Now, this is a Kiwami4, which I got from Painting Tools Japan. I will put a link in the description. I do pay for the guns, but it is where I get them, and people often ask, so I will put a link in the description so that you know where I've got it from if it's of interest to you. But he's always given me a very good service. It's normally 2 or 3 days from Japan to the UK. It's just like buying at home, really. People also ask me if you get duty, and sometimes you do, so be prepared to get that. How much it is varies totally on the exchange rate at the time. I presume the courier also takes a cut, which they do, and they vary between £10 and £14. So I can't tell you how much, because it all depends what the price is at the time. But you know, you can expect, if you're in the UK, you can expect some duty. If you're in the US, I'm told that you can get up to $800 worth without actually paying any import duty. So you wouldn't have to worry about it like with those. And you can't get the Series 2 in anywhere other than Europe at the moment anyway. I'll try and remember to put a link in the description of a couple of videos I did going between the Series 1 and the Series 2. It's something I did quite a while ago now. But if you can't get the Series 2, you're not missing too much, really, to be fair. It does make the clear coat version, which is the gun we're using here, much easier to use. But as far as the WBX goes, it's a really nice gun to use. It's the same as the W400 WBX. If anybody tells you it's different, it's not. It's a totally different gun, but it doesn't spray any different. So the actual results are exactly the same. The Kiwami is only available in Asia, although I'm sure that will change and it will go out to Europe, etc. I've made quite a few videos on the Kiwami4 series, so none of this will come as news to anybody that watches the channel regularly. But I thought it was good to do a WBX v the Series 2 WS400, simply because a lot of people ask me about a good quality clear coat gun, and the Kiwami4 in the WBX, or the WB for that matter, although the WB is slightly slower, the air cap is slightly different, but you can get excellent results and at a slightly lower pressure as well. I used both of these at 2 bar, which is the recommended pressure. It's an ideal pressure to use them on. You don't need any more. You can use a bit less if you want to, if you're after a more peely effect, but 2 bar seems to make these things work absolutely fine. So 29 psi is what I used. I had both the guns fully open on the fluid, and I had them both at full fan. Now, if you're used to the Series 1, and I'll try not to go into this too much because I've done that before, but just a quick one. The main difference between the Series 2 and the Series 1 is that the Series 2 isn't so temperamental. So if you're worried about you'll see a lot of the Series 1 about people saying, you know, settings to use it, and it nearly always includes turning the fan in. And the reason for that is it just didn't match with the setup of the gun. And as I say, I won't go into it too much. I'll put a link in the description and you can see more of that if you want. But the result of it is it's actually very easy to use. So you can use it on full fan and you can use it on full fluid, just like any other, for want of a better expression, any other normal spray gun, because the Series wasn't quite normal. But as I say, I found it really, really difficult. I'm trying to get, at the end, I'm trying to get as close to the paintwork as I can so that you can see the finished article. But I can't really see any difference between the two. And the way they behave are more or less the same. As I said about the free split tip, trying to speed it up, I suppose it does slightly, but it's not really that noticeable. I will try it in the WBX400 actually, because I know that is something that quite a few people in the US do. We don't get the WBX4, although I have got one. We don't actually get it over here normally. So a lot of people in Europe won't be familiar with the gun at all, but it's effectively a 4-split tip W400. Is what it is. The body's actually exactly the same, but you get a few different caps with the WBX400, but it's irrelevant to Europe because we just don't get them. The reason I use the Multi-Mix 2 is it suits these guns better because they put quite a fine coat. They atomize quite finely, or very finely in fact, and they put a nice fine coat out. Now, if I was to use the U-Pol or some of the cheaper clear coats that don't run out very well, and you notice here I'm measuring everything, and that's just to make sure that, you know, the consistency of the clear is exactly the same, or as near as I can get it anyway, so that there's no difference. The heat of the clear is the same, give or take 1 degree Celsius, you know, as much as the parameters I can get it to be exactly the same, which is the whole point of the video. So going back to what I was saying about the reason for using the Multi-Mix 2, or what I would regard as a slightly better quality clear coat, is these guns put it on very fine. So a clear coat like the U-Pol or something like that needs to have quite a lot of material on before it will flow out, and these guns, it just wouldn't suit these guns really. So a better quality clear coat actually suits these guns better, because you get a very fine film, really finely atomized. A clear coat that just flows out better works ideally. I did use thinners on this. I used 10% thinners on both the panels, so it is directly comparable. And yeah, it just helps it run out a little bit more. It was 13 degrees Celsius, so you'll see I'm using heat. 13 degrees Celsius is, what's that off my head, about 40, 46, 47 Fahrenheit. So it wasn't particularly warm, it wasn't really cold, it wasn't particularly warm. So it's heat's really needed, and I heat up the clear coat because it does help it run out. The Multi-Mix needs it less, but it does help it run out. Another thing I've found with this Multi-Mix 2 is I just use a fast hardener, and I know a lot of people, well, I say a lot of people, I've seen quite a few people on the different forums and social media and that, when they put Multi-Mix 2, and this is quite an English thing because it's only really available in the UK. I think a few places in Europe have got it, but it's not available in the US as far as I know, or anything like that anymore, or Australia and places like that. But one of the things that people seem to drive towards is the air dry hardener, and I've never found the need to use that. I just use the fast hardener, and it seems to work really, really well. But when the conditions are cooler, you need the extra fast really, because it just takes too long to go off with the fast hardener. But certainly at this sort of temperature, 13 degrees Celsius, the fast hardener works absolutely fine. So I would avoid the air dry hardening, because I've heard of a lot of people, and quite a few people, well, I say quite a few, probably 6 or 7 people have contacted me. When I did the clear coat review, they contacted me about the Mix2, and they said they'd had real problems, and a lot of it seems to stem with this air dry hardener. So, I don't know whether there's a problem with just that batch or what there was, but there's no need, just because you haven't got an oven, there's no need. It will go off eventually, even if you haven't got lamps or anything like that. It will go off eventually. It just takes time. That's all. It just takes time. You have to be careful if it's really damp, because if you're leaving it overnight in, say, a damp garage or damp building or whatever, or outside, if you've done the job outside, if it's damp, then you will get like a balloon. It will bloom, and you can try and get rid of that with heat afterwards. But you certainly don't want to be doing it really if it's going to be damp and it's going to be exposed to that damp. Anyway, we're actually going off topic a lot, which is something I do, but hopefully it's been useful to somebody. But yeah, I mean the Series 2 gun, make no doubt about it, it is a really, really good clear coat gun. But my argument here is that you can get, I think, the same for half the price. And that's the whole point of doing the video, really. A lot of people thank me for the videos, which I really do appreciate. I do enjoy doing them, but half of it is that I've obviously got a screw loose somewhere. There's something wrong in the head to have all these spray guns, but I genuinely enjoy seeing what the difference is in these things, and hopefully my enthusiasm for what I do and what I like doing comes over in the videos. This for me isn't a job. It isn't a way of earning money or getting a return. It's a way of sharing what I enjoy doing with you guys, and that's basically why I do it, because I do enjoy getting the feedback from you guys, and I enjoy giving you my feedback of the guns. But I do like seeing how things work, etc. And with these two, I really can't see much of a difference. So if I was looking to buy one, I would buy the WBX. Yes, I have bought the Series 2, but I need to buy the Series 2 to see how it works, see how different it is to the Series 1. It's just something I need to do. I do spend quite a lot of money on spray guns. I will, it is one of the things I really do enjoy spending money on, but I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't buy fast cars. My car's 14 years old, so you got to spend it on something, haven't you? And this is what I really enjoy. So hopefully, as I say, that passion comes through in the video somewhat. But you see me here cleaning the gun. I just put a little bit of this is like a cleaning thinners through it, and that just gives me more time to clean the gun out. So I'll put a bit of thinners through it, and I'll leave it for a little while, go on and do something else, and then I normally clean all the guns together. But don't leave it with a bit of clear coat in there, because once it goes off, it makes it much more difficult to get it out of the tip, the inside of the tip. Anyway, here's the two panels. I won't leave you to guess. The one on the left is the WS400, and the one on the right is the WBX. And both of the guns do a superb job. The multi-mix clear is quite a good clear. These haven't been touched, they haven't been polished, nothing's happened to them. They've been left for this particular case with 3 days because it wouldn't stop raining. You can see it's still wet out there and trying to rain, but I had to get the things out just to finish the video off, really, for my own sake of mind. But yeah, both of them really difficult to split. As I say, I'd go for the WBX if you want to save some money. If you don't mind spending money, go for the WS, but you probably wouldn't gain much out of it. Cheers guys, thanks as always.